What if the wars you've watched unfold, the economic crashes that wiped out your savings? The politicians you voted for were never really in control? What if the decisions that shaped your life were made in a room you'll never be invited into? By people whose names you've never heard? Today, we pull back the curtain on one of the most talked about, most dismissed, and most misunderstood concepts in modern history: the New World Order. Is it a paranoid fantasy? A debunked conspiracy theory? Or is it the most hiding in plain sight truth of the 21st century? Stay with us, because by the end of this video you'll never look at the news the same way again. Chapter 1. Where did New World Order come from? Most people think New World Order is something cooked up in internet chat rooms. But here's what's wild: the term was used openly, on national television, by one of the most powerful men on earth. On September 11, 1990, exactly 11 years before the Twin Towers fell, President George H.W. Bush stood before Congress and said these words: "Out of these troubled times, a new world order can emerge, a new era, freer from the threat of terror, stronger in the pursuit of justice, and more secure in the quest for peace." He said it again and again, over 200 times during his presidency. This wasn't a slip of the tongue. This was a vision. But Bush didn't invent the phrase. It goes back further, much further, to the architects of modern global institutions, the men who built the United Nations, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund after World War II. Men like David Rockefeller, who in his own memoir wrote, "Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States. If that's the charge, I stand guilty, and I am proud of it." He wrote that himself in his own book. Proud of it. Chapter 2. The Institutions. To understand who might be running the global economy, you have to understand the institutions they built and the ones they quietly meet in every single year. Let's start with the Bilderberg Group. Founded in 1954, this annual meeting brings together roughly 130 of the most powerful people on the planet: heads of state, CEOs of the world's biggest banks, media executives, tech billionaires, military leaders. No press allowed. No minutes published. No votes recorded. Every major Western leader from Bill Clinton to Tony Blair, from Angela Merkel to Henry Kissinger, attended Bilderberg before they rose to power. Every single one. Then there's Davos, the World Economic Forum. Every January, in a ski resort in Switzerland, the world's billionaires and political leaders gather openly to discuss, quote, improving the state of the world. The WEF's founder, Klaus Schwab, proposed what he called the Great Reset, a complete restructuring of the global economy after COVID-19. He said it himself on camera. The pandemic represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world. Reset. Their word, not ours. And then there's the Council on Foreign Relations, the CFR. Founded in 1921. It has shaped U.S. foreign policy for over a century. Almost every Secretary of State, CIA Director, and National Security Advisor in modern history has been a member. Chapter 3. The Money. Here's where it gets really uncomfortable. Because if someone is running the global economy, they're doing it through the one thing everyone on earth is dependent on: money. The Federal Reserve, America's central bank, is not a government institution. It is a private entity. Created by Congress in 1913, yes, but owned and operated by private member banks. When the Fed decides to raise interest rates, your mortgage goes up. When they print money, your savings lose value. And they answer to no elected official. In 2008, the Fed pumped over $16 trillion into global banks to prevent a total financial collapse. $16 trillion. That's more than the entire US GDP. And it happened with zero congressional approval. Zero public vote. But it goes deeper. 3 asset management firms, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, together manage over $20 trillion in assets. They are the largest shareholders of virtually every major company on Earth. Apple, Google, ExxonMobil, Boeing, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, every major bank, every major media company. Think about that. The same 3 firms own significant stakes in companies that make your phone, your medicine, your news, your food, your fuel, and your weapons. Is that a conspiracy? Or is that just the economy? Chapter 4. Population Control and Agenda 2030. In 1980, a mysterious granite monument appeared in Elbert County, Georgia. 8 slabs. 5 languages. A set of instructions for humanity. The first commandment carved into what became known as the Georgia Guidestones. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. 500 million. The current global population is 8 billion. Someone who paid for those stones anonymously and never revealed their identity envisioned a world with 94% fewer people. The stones were demolished in 2022. Officially by vandals. The security footage was never released. Then there's UN Agenda 2030 17 Sustainable Development Goals adopted by every member nation. On the surface, end poverty, fight climate change, achieve equality. Noble goals. But critics point to Goal 16, which calls for effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. Read, global governance. And Goal 10, reduced inequalities, which some interpret as the redistribution of wealth on a global scale. The WEF has a famous line about their vision for 2030: you will own nothing, and you will be happy. That phrase appeared in a promotional video they produced and later deleted. Chapter 5. Is it real? So here's the honest question: is the New World Order a real, coordinated, secret plan by a small group to control humanity? Or is it something more complicated? The truth, as best as we can tell, is somewhere in between. There are powerful groups of elites who meet privately, coordinate policy, and share a vision for the world that most of us were never asked about. That is documented. That is real. There are financial institutions with more power than most governments. That is not conspiracy that is published in their own annual reports. But is there one master villain in a dark room pulling every string? Probably not. What there is a class of people whose interests are so aligned, whose networks are so intertwined, that they don't need to conspire. They just act in concert. Naturally. Because the system was built to serve them. And that might be scarier than any secret society. The New World Order isn't a monster hiding under the bed. It's the bed itself. The structure. The system. The framework most of us were born into and never questioned. The most powerful conspiracy isn't secret. It's hiding in the quarterly earnings reports, in the guest lists of private summits, in the footnotes of international treaties. So what do you do with this information? You pay attention. You ask questions. You follow the money. Always follow the money. If this video made you think differently, share it. Because the one thing they never plan for is all of us paying attention at the same time. I'm the Redacted. And this is just the beginning.